Hello everybody, this is the introduction to Module 4, Using Data to Drive Instruction. The agenda for today has 4 items. The first one is revisiting the fundamental of data and assessment. The second one is the assessment instructional cycle. The third one is a reflection. And the fourth one is housekeeping. If you participated in the adaptive action cycle discussion in Module 1, you already have an idea of what the adaptive action cycle entails. You know that it's comprised of 3 steps. First one is the what, second one is the so what, and third one is the now what. When you're considering the what, you are trying to find patterns. When you are considering the so what, you are looking for meanings within those patterns. And when you're considering the now what, you are trying to find a way to shape the patterns you already identified. In this module, we are going to be using the adaptive action cycle along with the assessment instructional cycle. The assessment instructional cycle has 4 steps. The first step is collect data. The second step is analyze data. The third step is interpret data. And the fourth step is plan and implement. We will be putting these 2 cycles together to analyze data. In this stage 1 of collect the data of the assessment instructional cycle, we are going to be using the what part of the adaptive action cycle. When you're collecting data, you want to look at different types of data, and this includes quantitative data such as standardized testing, MAP scores, unit assessments. When you're collecting qualitative data, you may want to collect work samples, artwork, interviews, maybe video responses to have a wide range of data. When you move to stage 2 of the assessment instructional cycle, you're also moving into the second part of the adaptive action cycle. So what? Some good questions that you may want to consider are: what patterns can you determine? How does the qualitative and quantitative data are the same? How they are different? How do they align? You also want to identify strengths and weaknesses. When you're ready to move on to the stage 3 of the assessment instructional cycle, interpret the data, you're also still using the second step of the adaptive action cycle. And while you interpret data, you're looking for those patterns still. When you're working on interpreting data, you may want to think on what these patterns tell you about the student, what interpretations and recommendations are evident when you look at the data, and what are the meanings of these results you have in front of you. When you're ready to move to the stage 4 of the assessment instructional cycle, plan and implement instruction, you're also moving to the step 3 of the adaptive action cycle, now what? When you are in this stage, you want to think about how you can shape the patterns you have already identified. Some of the questions you may want to consider are: what would be my next wise action? How would this look like in my classroom? How can my planning process look like from now on? And what is a good goal based on the data we have studied? We would like to make connections across the cycles we have been seeing through the modules in the Reading Academy. We have seen the scientist process, we have seen the adaptive action cycle, and now we have the assessment instructional cycle. We would like to think about the connections across the cycles we have been seeing through the modules in the Reading Academy. As you go through the module, we would like you to think about what are the connections between these 3 cycles. We would also like you to consider how the adaptive action cycle supports you when you are engaging into the assessment instructional cycle. Now we would like you to access the Google link provided and engage in some reflection. We would like you to think about: how does using the assessment instructional cycle impact students? How does collecting multiple data sets support your understanding of students' learning? And what action step do you plan on taking to use data to drive instruction? If you have already completed your reflection, we would like to move on to some housekeeping items. The first one is the pre-test and post-test. We have added here some points that you may want to focus on while you go through the module. The second is the timeline. We would like you to take a minute and go through the new timeline. You will have in September a couple of days that you can use to catch up. The most important thing is that we want to start Module 6, Phonological Awareness, together as a cohort. So if you use September and October wisely, you will be able to catch up. If you have any questions regarding the timeline, you can certainly email me and I'll be happy to answer questions. We also want to encourage you to use the parking lot to find answers to your questions and to leave us questions. We go through them every day and we are constantly updating answers. If you have further questions, of course, you can send me an email and I'll be prompt in replying back. Thanks for watching this video and have a great weekend.